So what have I been doing over the last few weeks? We've been going on walks and more walks and more walks. And Luke has been enjoying his scooter particularly. It's the best dollars we've spent really, I think, on him. He loves it, and he sees it and he goes like it's a car. He's ready to go. He sees it and he's like, come on, get it out. Off we go. But I've also been studying. So it wasn't exactly leave in terms of relaxing time. It was study. And so Michaela, she did her winter school, and I looked after Luca so she could do her intensive, and then I went and did my intensive, and Michaela looked after Luca for that week. And I was studying a unit which is called Mission to Pluralistic Societies. And you might wonder what a pluralistic society is. Well, I can tell you that you live in one. Here in Australia. We live in a society where we legislate and we make rules and we do all sorts of things so that everyone in our society has an equal right to exist. And that brings with it a whole heap of challenges for us as an Adventist church. Because as a Christian, not just Adventist, but all Christians are living in a society where the modes of mission, the way we do ministry, the things that we do are not calibrated for. In fact, the things that we do, they were designed for what we would say a modernist era, or they were designed for an era of ministry that didn't look like the world does today, particularly in Australia and Europe. And so I discovered some challenging stats. The next few slides are from Dr. Wayne Krause, because they were the most grabbable slides I could use. Everything else is really deep theological work, but this was the key points I could bring and show you, okay? And so this is from our census data since 1911 all through to 2021. The yellow line is other religions, the red line are Christians, and the blue line is population. And you can see that between 2011 and 2021, Christianity has really dropped off, and what we call the nones, or those that say no religion on the census, have increased by a significant amount. And so we're operating to a society where people are not even nominally Christian anymore. And so most people, if I said, hey, have you heard of Jesus? They'd say no. They don't have a concept really of who he actually is. They might have used him in a swear word, or they might have heard, they would know of Jesus, but they would not understand who he is, what he's done, or anything about what your faith is, right? And so when we go to speak to people, that means that we need to change the way that we speak to people. You can't assume that they know what you're talking about. Bit of a challenge, right? The next one, a small slide as well, but you'll see there's 1947, the Seventh-day Adventist Church made up around about 0.23% of the Australian population. You can see that it's increased since then. It went up and up, and then it went down again. And if you come all the way along there to 2021, we now make up again 0.25% of the Australian population. So we're slipping. We're getting smaller. Our numbers have been staying the same for quite a long time. I come over here and we go look at 2011 all the way through to 2021. We have an increase there of only around 662 members across that period of time, about 10 years, or 10 years. In 2021, there were 4,000 people who immigrated to Australia who said that they were Adventist. This is off census data. So statistically, we're actually decreasing, which is a little bit scary. And we come to this final one, which is a quote from Philip Hughes. He does a whole heap of research on census data and Christianity, not just Adventism, but all kinds of Christians. He's anyway, really interesting guy. But what he says is the maintenance of numbers rather than the decline experienced in many other denominations has been partly a result of the continuing immigration of Seventh-day Adventists. Almost 40% of Adventists were born overseas, a higher proportion than almost any other denomination apart from the Oriental Orthodox. So in other words, we are growing because we're really good at getting people to come here from other countries. We're not actually reaching people, which is a massive challenge for me as a pastor, because I am called, and I believe all of you are called, to reach our people, to reach our society, to reach what we, or statisticians, call the majority people group, people who have been in Australia at least 2 generations, right? And so this is a big challenge. And this is something that I'm going to be thinking about, and I'm going to be encouraging many of our people here at Foresters Beach to think about. How can we reach the people around us, what we call the majority people group? How can we change the way that we do mission so that we are reaching those people effectively? We also have a sermon series coming up called Difficult Words. There'll be a devotional guide and a reading plan that starts on August 24. And we're going to unpack over a few weeks some of the most challenging passages we find in Scripture and see what we can do with them and how we can see Jesus working in each of those challenging passages. And that's what I've been up to for the last few weeks, learning, growing and planning and dreaming for what we are going to do and what we are going to be moving forwards, but also growing myself so that I can become an even more effective minister.